Hello, my name's Sabrina Wayneth and I'm a psychotherapist. This is a video on how to predict who you're likely to marry or what type of a person you're likely to marry. I do a lot of work with couples, and in couples therapy it's fascinating to see the same 4 or 5 different combinations of couples show up time and time again. And according to Imago relationship therapy, which was developed by Harville Hendricks, it's possible to more or less foretell what type of a person you're likely to marry, because that choice is very dependent on your childhood history. So according to Imago therapy, you're guaranteed to choose a partner who has the exact same wound as you do from childhood, but who has the exact opposite coping strategy or defense or childhood adaptation to yours. So what does that actually mean? It means we're going to be attracted to our opposite, who underneath the exterior is going to be struggling with exactly the same vulnerabilities and childhood wounding as we are. According to Imago therapy, there are 5 principal couple dynamics, depending on how and when in childhood you didn't get what you needed. So the clinger and avoider dynamic happens when the main wounding takes place between birth and 2 years old. Diffuser and isolator, the primary wounding is between 2 and 3 years old. Rigid and diffuse, the ages are between 3 and 4. Competitive and passive manipulator, the wounding happens between 4 and 6 years old. And the caretaker and loner, the woundings between 6 and 9 years old. So the clinger-avoider dynamic happens when there's what's called attachment phase wounding between birth and 2 years old. So when the child didn't get held enough or when the parent wasn't available, the relationship dynamics that emerge are either that of the clinger, I didn't get held, so when I find somebody, I hold on and will never let go. Or the avoider strategy, which is I didn't get held, so now I don't trust anyone to hold me. So the fuse or isolator dynamic happens when there's what's called exploration stage wounding between the ages of 2 and 3. So when essentially a child's exploration phase gets interrupted, either because the parent says something like, you must never leave my side, you must never do any exploring, or because the child gets shamed upon their return from exploring, or because there's no one to return to. So the parent leaves the room, so when the child comes back there's no one there, or the parent's just not very enthusiastic about what the child's discovered, so the flower they bring back or whatever it happens to be, there's no excitement on the parent's side. And that usually results in either the fuser approach, which is no one got excited about me or about what I liked, so now when I find someone, I'm going to make them respond. Or the isolator, which is I wasn't allowed to do anything, so now I'm going to do anything I want and I'm going to be the best at it and no one's going to stop me. So the rigid diffuse dynamic happens when there's identity stage wounding between the age of 3 and 4. So essentially when a child gets no mirroring or poor mirroring, or when they get ignored. So when a parent says something like, no, you're not a puppy dog, you're a girl. Or boys don't wear makeup, only girls wear makeup. That'd be an example of very poor mirroring. And that usually results in a dynamic that's either diffuse. So I don't know what I want to be. Maybe I want to be a doctor, or maybe I want to be a lawyer, or maybe I want to be a hairdresser, where somebody finds it very hard to find what they want. Or the rigid adaptation, which is I make the rules around here and we do things my way, or there's only one right way to do things. So the competitive passive manipulator dynamic usually happens as the result of what's called competence stage wounding between the ages of 4 and 6, where again there was partial mirroring on behalf of the parents. So something along the lines of, yeah, you coloured that okay, but you're out of the lines and you've got the colours of the flowers wrong. Or something more shaming like, you never get anything right. That usually results in either the competitive personality structure, which is essentially, I'm the best, can't you see that? Or the passive manipulator, which is, I can't do this, why even try? I've always been awful at everything, you've got to do this for me, I'm so dumb. The caretaker-loner dynamic usually happens when there's been wounding at the concern stage, which is between the ages of 6 and 9. So if a child's unable to make friends or has received poor modelling around friendships, they're likely to become either the loner, which is, I can't make friends, so I'll just stay here at my computer, or the caretaker. I'll take care of these people so that they like me. The good news about being partnered up with somebody who shares the exact same wound as you, who's wounded at exactly the same developmental level but who shares the opposite defence, is that for the relationship to work, both of you really have to stretch out of your comfort zones and towards the adaptation that you've really let go of. So let's take the couple where one is desperate for space and one is desperate to be held. The person who really wants to be held, their partner has to work towards being available for that rather than disappearing off into space. So that the person who really needs to be held gets some of that holding. And vice versa. The person who really needs space, their partner has to get comfortable with, oh, can I let my partner have that space and can I hold myself a little bit so it doesn't panic me when my partner needs space and distances a little bit. So both of you are actually making friends with the piece that feels incredibly difficult. And the beauty of it is that it actually pulls you back into your wholeness. So rather than just being an adaptation where something got split off or something becomes scary to you, you actually make friends with everything, and then there's a wholeness there where you've reclaimed what sometimes are called the lost parts of yourself. So I hope that was helpful. If you want to read more particularly about the different stages of childhood development, so what a child needs from their parent at each age, do check out my blog post on this at sabrinaweyneth.com. As a quick side note, if you're a parent reading this, please be very gentle with yourselves. I think some degree of childhood wounding is inevitable. So I think the best that we can hope for is good enough parenting. So when you're reading what a child needs at each stage, please don't panic and yeah, kind of read it with gentle eyes. Thanks so much for reading and watching.